is Paris on Politics from Fox 32 Chicago.
Illinois follows the law, but let me be clear, we expect the federal government to follow the law too.
Welcome to a special edition of Paris on Politics, where we always go behind the headlines and beyond the spin. Well, our heads are spinning tonight after 8 hours of hearings on sanctuary state policies featuring Governor Pritzker, who you just saw, New York Governor Hochul, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Now, amid the debate on immigration policies, we heard wild rants on everything from the Chinese Communist Party to what kind of weapon of war Governor Walz fired, to one congressman accusing another of being in Antifa. And that was before a congresswoman accused a governor of murder and treason. This is apparently what passes for discourse in the nation's capital these days. And for some expert analysis, we're joined by Chicago Tribune senior political reporter Rick Pearson and my good longtime friend Rick.
Great to be out here with you and get some fresh air after being stuck in that room
with all that hot
8 hours. It wasn't even hot air, it was polluted air.
That's a good way to put it.
It was politically polluted air.
Well, amid all of that, this is a very contentious issue. Sanctuary city policies, sanctuary state policies that protect undocumented immigrants and that prohibit police from cooperating with ICE agents in most circumstances. So was any consensus come to today between Republicans and Democrats on this?
No. And that wasn't the point of this. This was a Republican-led committee, the House Oversight Committee. This was about scoring points, the same way that they tried to in April when Mayor Johnson was there with other mayors, trying to think that Congress and the congressmen of the Republican side are more clever than the politicians, from the local politicians. I mean, as we saw then, there was not a lot of points scored there because everybody stuck to script and didn't take the bait. This time, more opportunities to try to get among the committee members. And this is not only just the Republicans, the Democratic side, too, of this committee. This committee has a whole cast of characters, okay?
This is every firebrand in Congress is on this committee. You're talking about Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, AOC, Gosar.
This is Bozo's circus in Washington, okay? Everybody marching to their own drum. And we did not learn anything that would advance the cause, which truly I think everybody thinks is necessary, of having comprehensive immigration reform, some way that we can deal with this issue. And you had all the Republicans are on the Trump boat because certainly that was a big factor for his victory, demonizing immigrants and portraying people as immigrants against victims, us against them kind of thing. And you had the Republicans continuing that line, pointing out, and rightfully so, there's no doubt that serious crimes have been committed.
And I have to bring that up because Republicans have constantly been bringing up crimes that have been committed by undocumented folks, many of them who perhaps had been in jail and then released. And this young girl, Laken Riley, who was murdered in Georgia, she was brought up several times. Obviously, Marjorie Taylor Greene being from Georgia. She really went after Kathy Hochul in New York, accusing Hochul of harboring this criminal in New York and then giving him a plane ticket to go to Georgia, where he subsequently committed this crime. But at the same time, Democrats will bring up the fact that actually crime among undocumented immigrants tends to be lower
than the regular citizenry.
Right.
And the fact that these people, as much as you hear the term illegal being cast about, that these were people, now you can argue, and nobody has anything good to say about the Biden border policies here, but the matter of fact is, these people, for the most part, were here legally.
And that's the key, that's the key point, is the Republicans kept saying, how much money have you spent on illegal aliens? But they're conflating asylum seekers, migrants who do have legal status. Let's listen to some of the heated exchanges between some of the Illinois members of this House Oversight Committee. Some friendly, some not so friendly.
President Trump has called Illinois, quote, a poorly run state. But the truth, of course, is the opposite. Governor, Illinois has had 7 consecutive balanced budgets, right?
That's correct, Congressman.
And our credit rating has been raised 9 times in the last 6 years, correct?
After 21 downgrades under Republican and others.
And it now stands at an A rating, right?
It does.
In contrast, under President Trump, every credit agency has downgraded America's credit rating below the top level. The first time in history that's happened, isn't that right?
That's correct.
When you hear about victims that suffer violence because of illegal migrants in a sanctuary city state, you said, no, it hasn't caused you to rethink. Reclaiming my time. Now, Governor Pritzker, you mentioned reclaiming my time. I have the time. I have the time.
All the federal government. You all have the ability to fix this.
Governor Pritzker,
do your job. Do your job, Congressman.
Do you stand by your policy of tying the hands of Illinois law enforcement? Yes or no, sir?
You know, Congresswoman Miller, I am
Yes or
not
no,
going
sir?
to be lectured to by somebody
I'm
who extols
reclaiming
the
my
virtue
time.
of
I'm
Adolf
reclaiming my
Hitler.
time, Chairman.
That last person you hear is a downstate Republican, Mary Miller, who he's claiming
who is
she'd
the
made
most ardent right-wing member
in the state of Illinois.
the Illinois congressional delegation.
The second to last person, Darren LaHood from Peoria, and then Raja Krishnamurthy from Chicago. Look, politics plays a huge role in what happened today. There are people seeking higher office, including possibly the governor.
That's what I mean about a circus.
So unpack all that, what you saw there.
Well, this is all show business. I mean, you have Mary Miller, and frankly, I was looking very much to see if she would show up for this opportunity to talk to Governor Pritzker, because she normally does it by tweets or whatever social media you want to call. And she is not the brightest bulb in Congress. I'm just going to be very honest about that. I mean, the other day she was called out for referring to why are we having a Muslim deliver the house prayer? It was a Sikh. And then she said, why are we having a Sikh do it?
She also said Hitler was right about one thing.
Well, and then you saw this thing about Hitler, which to a Jewish governor is not exactly...
You could tell that she has gotten under his skin.
Because she throws out all these things, which plays well in this downstate congressional district. But if you ask people, what has she done for that district? And they may support her because she's a loyal Trump supporter.
And the culture war issues really play.
But what have you brought? I mean, the neighboring congressional district, Mike Bost, who was in a big battle, if you remember, against Darren Bailey. And I talked to Mike Bost about, Bost takes earmarks, okay? And at one time that was a bad thing or a good thing. And I said, well, Mary Miller doesn't take earmarks. He said, I'll take them. Bring them over here. If she doesn't want to give her people anything.
So they're very similar ideologically, but it sounds like he's bringing more bacon home to his district. But I want to get into Darren LaHood, who might run for Senate on the Republican side. And then you have Raja Krishnamurthy. How about this dynamic? He is throwing the softest of softballs up to the governor, even though he's running for Senate.
There's a
and
reason.
Governor Pritzker is endorsing his opponent.
That's the reason.
Unpack all of that.
That's the reason, though. He's not going to get into a fight, in a big visible fight in that stage. He's not going to get into that fight with Governor Pritzker, and whose lieutenant governor is his chosen
Juliana
candidate.
Stratton. It sounded like Pritzker's team wrote those talking points for Krishnamurthy. I mean, it sounds as if that could have happened.
There's another time and place for a Raja Krishnamurthy fight and a Juliana Stratton. This was not the place. This was more about trying to ensure where Pritzker's position was in defending the Trust Act and the sanctuary laws in the state. That was the job of all of the Democrats that appeared, even those, as we saw, that aren't even members of the committee. They came over later. And that's all to buttress that.
And I want to hold that thought, because I want to get to one more soundbite here. And this is another firebrand member of Congress. This is Lauren Boebert from Colorado in a really tense exchange with Governor Pritzker.
I find it hard to believe that you're lecturing us
Yes or
about
no?
peaceful protest. Look at what
Yes or
happened
no?
January 6th here at the Capitol.
No, what we're
The
seeing in
attack
LA
on
is
our
an
democracy.
insurrection. You want to talk about
That
an
is an
insurrection? This is an
insurrection.
absolute insurrection.
You don't understand what insurrection
I
is
asked
when
you a
people are
yes or
trying to
no question,
overturn an
sir.
election
And I'm
here at
showing,
the Congress.
I started this off
You
showing
were
you
here.
the
They were
forum, and I would
attacking you, by
respect
the way.
same. I would expect the same.
I'm answering your question. It is outrageous. that you are asking
is
us
it
these
peaceful
questions
to
when you're the one condoning
to destroy
pardoning of people who attack
private and
police
government property
right here at our
Governor
Capitol.
Hochul?
Here's the thing that really struck me about this, because I was here for the mayor's appearance. The mayors did not try to fight back.
Right.
They just took the heat and they kind of nodded their head and gave their scripted generic answers.
Which was good for them in where they are.
So Pritzker and the other governors, by the way, using this opportunity to try and launch some attacks on some of these Congress people.
Well, I mean, they represent a larger base than just their own cities. They also have egos that represent aspirations and political aspirations. I mean, Lauren Boebert is not an expert at anything. And so when Pritzker, and I've also
There's been some viral videos out there that might suggest otherwise, Rick, but we won't get into that.
Well, that'd be theater conduct. But what you have, and you got to remember, where Pritzker was the most vocal and most on attack was after about 6 hours. And there had been a break for voting by the House to go cast votes on the rescission measure and
Right.
things. And when they came back, but it seemed kind of obvious with both Lauren Boebert, Mary Miller, and the Hood that he was getting tired and getting fed up.
I could see the facial expressions and the body language in all of them. Walls, too. There was an exchange with Walls and a congressman.
Very heavy, yes.
He was very offended by the congressman claiming that he had lied about his military record.
Stolen valor.
Stolen valor. That
Right.
that had become. But what did any of that have to do with immigration? And that's the thing.
Well,
that's what got out of hand.
But it got out of hand in several points,
Right.
and we can talk about that. The whole issue of who's a woman, what's a woman,
the gendered bathrooms, but again, that goes to your point of this is theater. People want social media hits. I saw viral videos now from libs of TikTok or some other group, say, oh my goodness, look at the score that this congressperson just made. And that was the point. That was the point of some of these things.